Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honablew Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real.
Greetings and salutations, all my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honablew Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Good morning to you. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for being here. I know you all had a lot of different options, and you all are here, and that means a lot. And hopefully you will get to be entertained and learn today, because you know what it is. Do you know what today? Do you know what today is? It's Titillating Tuesday. Today I talked to Stacey. Didn't? Oh, that doesn't rhyme. Never mind. I'm gonna work on it. See, some of y'all is millennials and Gen Z, and like, well, what are you talking about? So y'all got to know back in the day, Tony. Okay, all right. Ooh. I get excited on Tuesdays because we get to have real conversations about real things and really, real talk, have been able to help change the trajectory of some people's beliefs about sexual health and education. It's like we teaching, and it's school is always in session, and it's Titillating Tuesday, and I'm so happy. I'm so incredibly happy. Oh, you know what? I need to show notes. Okay, all right. So I haven't been titillated in a while, so I'm very excited. This is like pre-titillation jitters or something. I don't know. Well, let's talk a little bit about helping people. Breadcoin is an amazing organization that helps people address issues of hunger and just hunger. I mean, it's horrible to be hungry. Now, you might not be able to tell it, but there's been a few times in my life where I've missed a meal or two. Not recently, clearly, but I know what it's like to not know where your next meal is coming from. Or trying to figure out, like, well, how much can you stretch some potatoes or some flour or whatever just so you can have something for tomorrow. Breadcoin helps address issues like that, and they take donations from the community and from institutions, and they put them against a coin that they mint, the Breadcoin. Right now, each coin, because of donations, each coin is worth about $2.50. Those coins are distributed through a network of really engaged community servants who already know who is in need and already know where they can be reached. And they distribute the coins. And then when people get the coins, they can go to a participating caterer or restaurant and use the coins. And it allows them to have food with dignity. They get treated like everybody else. Nobody has to know. And that is a wonderful thing. So I encourage everybody to always go out and check out Breadcoin. They are an amazing organization. As you all know, that Maryland is having its 2022 elections. Politics 22 is a very real thing. And like in the state at the top of the ticket, we couldn't have a more significant different choices that are polar opposite. Let me say it that way. Between Wes Moore and Dan Cox, we had a couple of conversations with Wes Moore and Dan Cox, and you can find those on our election coverage. We also have a lot of other content from other elected officials or people who want to be elected. We also have coverage from our pundits and political experts to really kind of put some of it into context. So make sure that you go and check it out, because you want to be an informed voter. You don't want stuff to just pop off and you're like, what? Wait, I didn't know he was crazy. I thought he was cool. Don't do that. Don't be that person, because I'm going to make fun of you. You know why I'm going to make fun of you? Because it's right here. You could just go ahead to that link and you get good information, and you don't have to worry about voting for the wrong person. So don't have me make fun of you. Check out our continuing election coverage. Want to also tell you about Fosterpreneur. Fosterpreneur has Erica Myers, the CEO of Fosterpreneur, has been a recurring guest, and I've done several shows on Fosterpreneur. I am happy to announce that we are opening our application for the fall 2022 cohort. So if you have anyone that is an alumni of foster care or an opportunity youth, someone who may have come from a disadvantaged background, and are looking to develop a business plan or understand entrepreneurship better, have them reach out to fosterpreneur.org. They can join our cohort and work with us in our trauma-informed entrepreneurship education program, along with wraparound case management to ensure that their needs get met across the board. It is very important that for a lot of people who are alumni of the foster care system, they find that entrepreneurship may be one of their main aspects to self-sufficiency. Some of them may have had academic challenges, criminal record challenges, and not really having the support necessary to get into some of these institutions. Entrepreneurship is a way to do it. And we do it differently than other training programs because we don't just, hey, this is what marketing is. Hey, this is what, sales are, and this is why you need a pro forma statement. We don't do that. We anchor the program in their practical genius. We figure out what they know, and we teach them entrepreneurship along that pathway. We don't want them to try to figure out, it's one thing to try to figure out how to run a business, and then it's another thing when somebody just tries to explain it to you in a way that's not feasible. So if you know anybody, have them visit fosterpreneur.org. Last but not least, I want to introduce my company to those of you all who don't know. I am the president of the Grinding Gang. I founded it. It's a community of entrepreneurs and business experts who want to support other businesses. There's a lot of information out there. You go to one workshop and they tell you, hey, do this. You go to another workshop, they say, hey, do that. You read one article, is do A, you read another article, it tells you to do pie. Like it's sometimes it's not even a connection. And if you try to follow all of it, you'll end up running around chasing your tail like a puppy. But what we do at the Grinding Gang is we help you make sense of all the noise. We help you identify what your core values are, what you do, how you want your business to run, and help you develop a rubric or a value set against which to measure all the new information you're getting. So make sure that you hit us up at the Grinding Gang. And by the way, membership is free. We're not trying to stay in nobody's pockets. All right, so hit us up. We want to help you. All right, let me see. Check his show notes. I told y'all I love y'all, right? Yeah, y'all are great people. Okay, I know I said that. All right, because once I bring her on, I'm going. It's not. I can't turn her off. Okay, that sounded titillating, but it was accidentally titillating. That wasn't the way I meant that. Don't do that. That's disrespectful. All right, but I get to bring to you all the chief titillating officer of the BlackUSA.news morning show, Stacey. Dennis. Hey, baby.
How y'all doing?
How you doing?
Coffee.
Hey, you ain't said nothing but a thing.
Good morning, everyone.
How was your weekend?
It was, the first half, Saturday I worked my tail off. Sunday I boogied. It was good.
Okay.
I took in a live cover band. They were fantastic. I think their name was Push Play.
Push Play?
In Marlboro, Maryland. They were fantastic.
In Upper Marlboro?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, repping PG. Okay, I see.
It was nice.
Statewide.
It was really nice though. They were amazing. They had everyone out of their seats. They were so good.
That is so cool. All right. So one of the things that has really been annoying me to a great extent, and this has been since my days in public health. What's up, Randolph? Good morning. Tampa in the house. But back in my days of public health, it is this idea that no matter if things work or not, we don't have to do them. And let me be clear. There has been, whether we're talking about gun control or whether we're talking about sexual health, there is a body of evidence that says that certain things work and certain things don't. That
Right.
there's literally reams and reams of paper that document what works and what doesn't. In sexual health, one of the things that I was always confused of, even when I was a teenager in church, and we wanted to have conversations about sex, and my pastor, he said it one day just brilliantly. He's like, "I'm a pastor. What do you think I am going to say to you? If there is an answer you are looking for, you should let me know, and I'll tell you whether I can give you that or not. But if you're looking for me to co-sign on this behavior you want to engage in, that's not, I won't do that." And he so appreciated the upfront honesty.
Right.
Like, we can talk about this, but I want to make sure you know that by the end of this, I am not going to move. So yeah, we can have the, and it changed. It really helped because it changed the conversation from one of trying to persuade and to one of actual conversations. Like, okay, let's listen. And one of the things that he talked about, and I gotta give him props. He did a really great job of kind of navigating around the waters a little bit, like, and one of the things he talked about was the health implications and the not just the biblical moral implications, but the health implications. It's like, once you decide to do this,
right,
you are now entering into you have a different set of health risks.
Exactly.
And it was like, where is he? And it's like, oh, you got to use condoms so you don't get anybody pregnant. It's like, whoa, bruh. Like, there's a lot more. Right. And he wasn't an expert in it, but he was able to have a conversation about there are things out there, and you should know that there are things out there. And they run the gamut, blah, blah, blah. And it was, at least to me, an acknowledgement that this was going to happen. Like, in our group, there was some of us who were already doing it. You know what I mean? And so that was, I think he did a good job, at least in the introduction, of merging kind of those two worlds together. One where, from a doctrinal perspective, I absolutely am not for this. But as a man who is responsible for your well-being, let's talk a little bit about it and direct you someplace that you can get information. And to me, again, this was because, he was really big on like science. So like the data said that abstinence only does not help. It actually has an inverse relationship to the spread of diseases and pregnancy.
Right.
And for those of you all who don't know I'm not even going to tell you what abstinence only is. That's why I got my chief titillating officer. She know all the words and vocabularies. All right, so talk a little bit about, I tell them if, I've set this up, if I set it up appropriately, or, am I off base with it, and then talk a little bit about how that happens.
No, you're not off base with it, but I want to start with what you first said. You were talking about your pastor and what his role is. And he's like, look, I'm a hammer. The only thing I can do is hit. This is what I do, right? So when you get your information, please understand where you're getting it from and what their role is.
Right.
And that's very important in the discussion of where sexual health education goes in this country, and who you're looking for your cosign or for your information, and why you really should pull from different. Excuse me, I am outside and the bugs love messing with me.
That's because you're sweet. You got all that. You got all that. The apothecary on. That's what it is.
No, and that is true. That is true. That's not the point, though. But it's so beautiful out here. But I can't stand bugs.
I know. We'll shut down the whole interview if spider lands on me. I'm gonna tell you that now.
Do you remember? I was about to climb right out this frame. And so I listened. Let me just say, here in Maryland, we have that. We have a very democratic urban centers, and then we have very conservative outer centers. And so when you ask someone what their views are about sexual health, they're going to give you the view from where they live, right? And what they see, or what they choose not to see. And I'm going to put it out there just like that, because the information about what has happened as a result of certain policies, the data is actually out there. And the only thing that you hear on the news are usually people's fears.
Yes.
And that's what they use to get policies through. They feed on your fear, right? The fact is that in the early 1990s, going into 2000s, where sexual health education was being really, really taught in schools. And I'm going to say a little bit before that, because the sexual revolutions in the 60s and in 70s, it wasn't the McCarthyism and the destruction of the moral fabric. It just started telling kids about what was happening in their bodies. William, you and I are old enough to know. Remember those black and white reels that we used to get shown in school on health class, right?
Hey, welcome. Are you feeling different? Have
Right.
you noticed that you may have changed? Like little people. Bing!
Right. Do you remember the health classes? And they started to show people, the kids, that what was happening to their body was absolutely normal. Everyone goes through it. Here's Timmy. Timmy is sweating profusely. How did you do on the show, Timmy? How did you do on the track? He's sweating, and now you've got all of this aroma. I mean, you're just sitting there watching these black and white reels.
And the thing was, while it was so watered down, it was effective. It was actually effective. It was baseline for all of us. You didn't have to have any kind of real knowledge about anything. It was like, and go ahead, because I realize.
But that's true. But do you see what I'm saying? So as the classes, as in the 1990s, especially when HIV came out, and you're like, what are we going to do with all of this? And the classes started to be implemented. Teen pregnancy in this country actually dropped significantly. It dropped significantly in this country. And I want to make sure I have the data right. I want to say 61 per 1,000 teens to 17, something like that.
Wow.
And I want to say that data was taken in 2008, but please don't hold me to it. I need to recheck. I got numbers swirling all over the place. And I will give William the link for that data. Okay. So y'all don't think I'm just pulling numbers out my tail. But when you start teaching kids about sexual health, the opposite happens. It's not like you tell people what a condom is and they're like, let's go use it. You know, that's not what happens. What actually happens is that kids are like, ew. They just.
Yeah, you want to do what with that? Yeah. Ew. What comes out of it? Oh my God.
I mean, okay, but, you know, and what actually ends up happening is that they take the time to make a better choice. And what I mean, take the time is, instead of them having their first sexual experience at 14 or 15, these kids may actually have their first sexual experience 17, 18, which is an improvement, which means their mind has grown. They've made a conscious choice to wait. And I'm going to just put it out there. There's something a lot of adults still haven't been able to accomplish. So there's that.
One of the other things that I realized as you were just talking, and that's what I wanted to go ahead, it is the whole idea that it may be by design. And let me tell you why. Because a lot of the evangelicals, especially a lot of the white evangelicals are really concerned about this whole replacement theory. That one of the reasons that they want to strike down Roe versus Wade is that they believe that the white community is having a birth issue. They're actually, the declining birth rates with increased birth rates in other cultures. And so if you look at it
with that, then you have to admit that the majority of people having these unintended pregnancies are not people of color.
Yes, but no, what I'm saying to you is that it may not, because my initial thesis when I opened this up, my initial premise was that they are trying to accomplish something using tools that don't work. And I'm now ready to, considering restructuring it, because it may be that they know these tools don't work and they They want them not to work. They want increases in the population. They want people to start having sex earlier. Because again, it's not our communities. We see it because, it is, we have this experience. But if you're trying to get more people to have babies, it makes sense that you would make sure that the ones the white girls in the rural areas would be ignorant to it.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. So now we can segue into the politics and the people that we elect to push these policies, right? And I just want to give a broad overview of the national policies. It's not just CRT that is being
CRT? Oh, critical
race theory. That is being heralded as some type of dog whistle. Don't let this type of curriculum hurt white feelings, basically.
Yeah.
But from the national platform, and this is what I'm getting on national platform, they don't want sex ed taught in public schools, period, at all. They want to leave it into the hands of parents who, God, if we left it into the parents' hands, it'll never get taught. And I'm sorry, but if they were going to do it, they would have done it already.
Well, honestly, the reality isn't just that about them wanting to do it or whatever. It is literally some of them don't have the skill set to it. Some of them are still the ones are making the same mistakes that got them the kids in the first place right now. Still haven't developed the skills of sexual negotiation and safe sex usage, self-esteem, and understanding all that.
But that's exactly right. But that's exactly right. And I'm sitting here like,
did they not see?
You can't see anyway.
Did they not see what happened when we had parents try to teach kids math and reading during remote learning? What makes you think that
that's what I'm saying. If that's the case, then have them teach everything else then.
They can't. They don't have the skill sets to teach math. They damn sure don't have the skill sets to teach sex. Because again, you're right. If they did, they would. Now I got to give my mama props. She was into health and stuff like that, and so she kept bringing me these really weird books. Literally the ones with the cutouts on them. What became known as clip art, but that was high tech back. That was fancy back then.
Don't say that about clip art. I love my clip art.
Oh my God, I love clip art. I still love clip art. Every once in a while, I try. Oh, anyway, separate. But like, so she kept bringing these books to me, like Doctors Talk to 14-year-olds, and it was like, why is my mom talking about sex that's not sexy? Like, it makes me it is the anti-arousal. It shrinks everything in and makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it's your mother telling you, which is why I taught my son.
But to your point, it was like, okay, I don't want to do this if it involves like thinking about you as you're talking about this. No, thank you. Like kissing somebody, like mama said, don't. Mama.
Exactly. And I've taught my son since he was a kid, and just so our viewers can see where we are nationally, this data comes from 2020, so it's already 2 years old. And remember when I said on previous on our previous shows, if you want sexual health data from 2022, you're gonna probably have to wait 1.5 years because it takes a minute to collect all the data from an entire state. And every health department, every doctor's office, hospital, clinic, compile it, clean it up, and then present it to you. That takes a very long time for people who do statistics. It takes them a minute. So if you're looking for data from 2022, you're just not going to get it until 2024. And I'm sorry. So this data is from 2020. And just to show where we are, 30 states plus DC require public schools to teach sex education. 30. That means 20 do not require it. Now understand I'm using specific words. They require it. 20 states do not require it. Okay? 28 of those states mandate that you teach both sexual health education and HIV. Understand that they are treating them separately. Right?
Okay.
Understand that it's treated separate. Just because you teach sex ed does not necessarily mean you teach HIV. Because you're also going to have to talk about the ways you get it. and who's getting it. And some states don't want to have that conversation. Mind you, I said 28 states. All right. 39 states plus DC require HIV education. So if 30 states require sex ed, but 39 require HIV education, that means 9 of those states require that you teach HIV, but not sex ed.
You know why? Cash, cream. Because what the reason that they probably did that is that there's certain funding that is tied to certain behaviors. So they may, like the YRBS, the Youth Behavioral Risk Survey, I think there's certain funding that's tied to that and certain requirements and other types of federal money, which again would explain why, because of the advocacy and the concern around HIV, why there would be money or attention placed on that specifically. But at the same time, not talking about sex is like, let me talk about coronavirus without talking about breathing.
Cash rules everything around me. All right. So bump the fact that you are still ignorant, but okay, I'm gonna take this money and only teach you this little bit right here.
But wait, you understand that ignorance is the driving factor. You were talking about the black and white movies and stuff like that. Do you know what for me, what I do remember is how the tone of them changed based on the political engagement.
Exactly.
All of a sudden it became those same, kind of black and white ones, except now they're like, if you have sex, you could get diseases and God will hate you and you could be socially ostracized and your heart can be broken. And it's like, it's like a horror movie. It's like, oh my God.
Right. Well, we can't get them in the nice way, in the Leave It to Beaver way. We'll get you in the Amityville horror way.
But the thing is that I think it is also part of the design. Mm-hmm. It is because I'll say this, under more conservative views, control is the thing that they're going for. It is, I need to control your behavior. I need to control what you think. I need to only give you the information that you can make the decisions I want you to make. Exactly. The things you're talking about, attacks on CRT and sexual health, it is, I need to be able to control your thoughts, which means I need to be able to control your inputs. For me, I want you to go and take a look at other things. I want you to go and explore because I know what I provide is good enough. I know that I'm doing the right thing. But when you don't, when you think you're not good enough or what you're presenting, don't go look at nothing else. It's the way abusers work.
Well, that's a whole conversation to talk about our politicians as abusers. I agree. That's another point. Okay, so we have the 39 states that plus DC that require HIV education. 35 states require schools to stress abstinence if you teach sex ed or HIV.
Say it again.
35 states require that you stress abstinence if you teach sexual health or HIV. So if you're gonna, so if you don't want to stress abstinence, you can't teach it.
And honestly, I hate words like that. Like, what does stress it mean? Right. Is it like does that mean like I gotta? Is it time based?
We're gonna get into. Okay. We are absolutely gonna get into that because I need people to understand. People who make policy, and what those words mean. We're gonna get into that because there's a whole MPA dedicated.
Because I was about to be like, yo, that the lawyer in me was like, whoa, mm-hmm. that's the kind of sketchy language that you put in. So when you're trying to do something on the back end,
because you have to please both masters. So we're gonna get into that. And I need you to understand this. I need you to hear these last 2 points of mine. 15 states do not require the education to be age appropriate, medically accurate, culturally responsive, or evidence-based.
No. You get the whole screen. Do that again, and you get the whole screen because that needs to be.
Oh my God. 15 states do not require the education you teach to be medically accurate, age appropriate, culturally responsive, or evidence-based. You could just say whatever and pull it from wherever.
That's crazy.
What the what? What the whole hell? What? Who wrote that? Who did it? Who did it?
Because Jesus, because that gives me the opportunity to say Jesus said, and yeah.
How do you? I can't. I can't even understand how that went through a legislature. I don't. I
Actually,
don't even
probably because it
understand.
didn't. Yeah.
I don't even understand how these people got elected. And then the last one, 9 states explicitly require that the education you teach discriminate against LGBT.
Wow.
Now then, we're going to go into how
Wow.
these policies got formed, right? So when you're in public health or in any government entity, and understand where the people who are running your government agencies sit. They sit between two masters. The politicians on one side, who may or may not have appointed them to the position, and the public on the other side, who's looking at him and looking at you like, what the hell, dude? Right? So you're sitting in between two forces. And so you get this legislation from one master, and you're reading it, and you're like, you're trying to figure out that the people who chances are not educated in public law and policy. Understand what I said. Because we elect people, and we don't care what your background is, they can be elected. They don't have to have the education necessary to follow what is written in the Constitution or the laws, or that's how things like this get passed. They do not have to. You do, as the person sitting in the agency. They don't. There's another branch of government that will tell them that this is not constitutional or illegal.
Or another branch of government that should do it but may not.
That should do it. But until that happens, you're sitting here with this piece of legislation that you have to turn into policy and not piss the other masters off. Or it may, and if they don't notice, then you're good, because these masters are satisfied.
Well, the thing is that, you know, to your point, and I love the way that you put that, is that this is why it becomes most important that we start retaining and bringing in talented government employees. Because so to your point, when I was working for the Maryland General Assembly, I had a degree in law. I had a master's in business administration, a degree in political science, and I'm brilliant as hell. And so what I had to do was take the budget information from a Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, almost $1 billion agency, and explain it, and not knocking her because she was great, to the chair of the subcommittee, who was a hairdresser. And so it was not knocking her because she really did care about her constituents. She actually she spent the time
but
trying.
This is not your wheelhouse, and I need you to understand that I have certain constraints placed on me by the Constitution and other laws of this state.
And that's what I'm saying. To your point, we need as elected officials, when we're looking at electing people. That's why I love talking about our political coverage on BlackUSA.news, because it gives an opportunity for you to know who these people are. But at the same time, I want to make sure, especially because we have people who are considering career changes or getting into trying to figure out their career. Think about government services, because if we look at the stuff that just happened with the January 6th thing, the Trump coup. The reason that Trump is not president and military isn't rolling around the country is because there were certain government workers like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Like literally. We put, and actually, you know what, Stacey, I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. Because Stacey is a government employee. Stacey has been a government employee in public health for a while. And because of the way Stacey engages, because of who she is, not because of the department decrees that they give her or the evaluations and stuff like that, but because who she is, that's why we're here. She brings this information to people because it's the right thing to do. And so we need more people like Stacey in these roles who actually give a damn about the people who are affected. Because and not always knocking them, because some of the elected officials, that is so not a part of their lives that they do the best that they can. Some of them, and you know what? Most of the ones that I've met, they at least try to do the best that they can. Now, sometimes their best is way too little, but they try to do the best that they can. But and guess what? They change every 2 years, 4 years, or whatever. Stacey has been there. Stacey will be there. And so as we are starting to think about career choices and talking about science, because we need people like Stacey who believes in what? Science, as opposed to, because, I feel that people will be okay if you just tell them to love each other before they have sex and be safe, and if or not have it. No, you need people who understand and respect.
Here's where people like me sit. People like me sit looking at these two masters I have. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, one of y'all is a total idiot. And I'm sorry. But this is stupid legislation. You're going to end up killing people. And you want me to implement it with a smile on my face. I cannot. This is stupid. Understand that one of these masters depends on their popularity with the other in order to retain their job.
Some of the other.
Right. In order to retain their job. Right? So I have to convince the people over here to be just as incensed as I am in order to change the minds of the masters over here. Mm-hmm. So that they can give me better legislation to work with.
And the thing is that if you do not understand how to do that, what you have done, and again, this is why I say people like Stacey, it's not just that Stacey does these types of things and works with the community to bring about policy changes. It is that she understands how to do it, because if you do it wrong, what you will find is you will be unemployed. And there will be nobody to stand in the gap for the community.
And that's the whole point. The whole point is to stand in the gap, because this is something that's just terribly wrong, where this is the state of our sexual health education. We keep, we got all these babies out here. We got all these hormones and all of these social issues that spawn from it. But you don't want to talk about it. You want to leave it up to parents who also don't want to talk about it, or they're incapable of being able to, which is why we send them to some type of formal education based on evidence, based on medically accurate information. How do you not require the information you're kicking out the kids be medically accurate?
What? You want to answer to that? Because I got one.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do.
The reason why is that you can keep them to believing in any of the other fantasies that you want, because if you show them, this is a skill that you don't want kids to develop. You don't want them to develop investigative skills or agency. Why? Because agency is not about control. If I understand my power, if I understand how things work, if I look at the data myself, if I develop the skills to interpret, you can't control me. You have to respect me. So and treat me not even as an equal, but we both know if I'm not equal, we both know I'm not. And so there's concessions that are going to need to be made. But real talk, and I know this is probably going to get us some comments, but the same conversations that you're using about abstinence being the way to go are the same ones that you're using about Jesus being alive and Christianity being dominant, is the same one that Donald Trump is using about him winning the election. They run the same gamut and they have the same impact. When we do not, now again, Christianity, I am a believer, but I also recognize that there are a mountain of facts that undercut some of the historical accuracy or the purported historical accuracy of the Bible. And so the issue is that information doesn't necessarily destroy my faith, it challenges it. But if I am able to look at that and not even try to jump, cognitive dissonance about like, well, maybe God meant that it goes left and we just don't know left yet. It is this whole idea that if there is no, I can deal with what it is more effectively when I'm anchored in objective reality. But
And then there are some of us who are not Christian
yes,
or of any Abrahamic religion and
Mhm.
don't want your Abrahamic religion all over my body.
And the interesting part is that literally, and this is the funny part for me, that is literally what Jesus was all about. Like Jesus never, with all of the purported infinite powers of the universe, never tried to force anybody to follow. He was like a pimp. He was like, "Hoes choose. You choose to follow me. I don't got to control you." And so even for those who are Christian and want to, say this is part of the Christian dogma, it literally is not. You don't have to do this, and you shouldn't, because again, one of the things Jesus was not about was forcing people into his religion. Because, by the way, he was a Jew. Did you notice that he was a Jew? So to your point, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to lead this portion of the conversation. but what I really want people, well, the point that I really want to anchor in is that this isn't just issue in sexual health. This is the issue of overarching control and oppression. They co-opt the vocabulary, they ignore the science. Anytime somebody is telling you to don't pay attention to the numbers, that to me is the reddest flag.
And and look at the numbers. Exactly.
So actually, watch this. I'm working on a project now, one of the schools, and they kept giving me these reports of their numbers. And it's like, well, what can we do with this? And I was like, can you just send me the raw numbers? Oh, we only can print it out. We can't like send you the Excel file. It gave us a PowerPoint or whatever. And so I had to convert all of it. And what I did is when I did my analysis of it, I was able to understand and tell their story vastly differently. I was able to, because they just had the raw numbers, but because I had the data in a spreadsheet, I was able to look at rates and trends and averages and stuff like that. And they're actually doing a lot better than they thought they were doing. But they weren't looking at the data correctly.
Me and this bee.
Yo, you live in a garden and you smell real good. What did you think was going to happen?
Them to leave me alone. I am moving.
You went to their house and they like, well, I mean, if you here, we're going to stop by and say hi. How you doing?
You know, I don't like y'all. I remember when I was compiling my data, trying to convince Baltimore City Health Department STD program leadership to let me teach my sex ed program in the schools. And I had health department data. Mm-hmm. I knew how many teens and young adults were coming into the health department clinics. And I knew how many teens and young adults are being infected around the state. What I did not have was the missing part was, how are they being taught? What are they being taught? And at the time, I called the state and I said, I see that we are requiring some form of sexual health education. And I also know that parents can opt their kids out of the class. I need to know how many students actually take the class per school or per school system. How many kids actually stay in the class that parents do not opt them out? He says we don't have the data for it. This is a federally funded program. You get money to teach this. And he said, right. What federally funded program doesn't require data on its efficacy? I just need to know
this one, because they don't want it.
When does that happen? That has never happened.
I can jump in here real quick.
Government give you a pot of money and say, I don't want to know about it.
Real quick, that actually happens more often than we think.
I'm irritated. This is, I was sitting on the phone like this because I knew he was lying.
No, the issue is that he's not. And I'm going to tell you why.
I knew he wasn't.
This is why it ends up happening, is that the money is designed to pacify a group of people, but the lack of evidence is designed to pacify the other
group of people. Exactly. And I knew it. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So I decided to sit in on my son's class because I wanted to know
yeah.
what was being taught. Because if you're not collecting data on who is taking the class, then you're not collecting data on what is being taught.
Oh, you know.
And I just want to put out there for everyone who is not in Maryland, although Maryland has requirements for sex ed, once it gets down to the local school district, they can be like, nope, don't want to teach
I'm sorry,
that.
once it gets to the teacher's classroom.
No, I don't want to teach that. I don't want to teach that. Nah. So Maryland has their standards, but then once it gets down to the local school district, then no. So I needed to know for where I lived, which at the time is Baltimore County, what they were teaching my son. So of course, at this point, my son has had my class since he was like 5, and this is him in the 8th grade. So he's now 13, and it's gotten progressively worse for him. Every year I give him something else. And so I get into class and I'm sitting in the back like this. Now, at this point, my son is busting out laughing because he knows what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sitting there waiting for the teacher to start, like, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
jerk.
Mm-hmm.
So the teacher starts and I'm sitting here like, and all he wants to talk about is harassment and kids' feelings. He sped 90 miles an hour through chlamydia and gonorrhea. Just I said, wow. I'm like, wow. And I highlight those two because young people get those at a higher rate in Maryland than anyone else. Young people in Baltimore got those at a higher rate than anyone else in the state. Just at the time, my 12 to 15-year-olds were killing the game more than anyone else in any age group, in any racial group in the state. Just, right? And he sped through at 90 miles an hour. So these two girls raised their hands, and they basically tell the teacher they were scoring each other. And I'm like, so I look at him, and he ignores them. He says, you know what? Let's just go on to sexual harassment. Guys, we need to talk about it. And I'm like, what the? So I go up to him after class, and my son at this point has lost it. He is trying to catch breath because he sees my face, and I'm like, nope. So I go up to him after class, and I said, my name is Stacey Dennis. Khalil is my son. I need to talk about what just happened in this class. And I explained, I said, those girls, they having sex with each other. This is middle school. They having sex. This is middle school. They're having sex with each other. They told you that they were having. He says, I know I couldn't address it. I said, I said, teacher, understand what we are sitting in. Kids at this age, they assholes. Kids are jerks. At this age group, kids are jerks. These girls were brave enough to raise their hands and tell you something extremely personal, and you ignored them. They went to an adult.
Did exactly what we told them to.
You didn't say, come see me after class. Let's discuss it in private. You straight up ignored them. What is the chance that they're going to do that again to another adult? I said, do you understand that in a couple years, I may be coming up and knocking on their door because there's a problem when you had the opportunity to deal with it right here? And he said, we're not allowed to. What's the point of the class then?
Oh, check a box, get money. Like, why are you pretending like it's designed to change anything?
Why are you here? Why are you here?
Check a box, get money.
Go away.
You see how that answer works?
But at the end of the day, these two middle school girls are screwing each other. And nobody has said anything, doesn't want to say anything to them. Guarantee you their parents don't know, but a whole bunch of classmates do. And a teacher that won't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right. Leave it to their parents, right? Are you going to tell their parents? No, you're not. You're not. Okay. So I just sat there, discussed it, and I said, this is why I don't have data.
Yeah.
This is why I don't have data, and this is why my statistics here in Baltimore will never go down, because you're too much of a punk to tell these kids about what is actually happening to their
And,
body.
and actually, let me pull back. Let me pull back. I will go less. Well, let me say, I the characterization of the not the teacher as a punk, but as the
Not the
system.
teacher, the system.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that one
Yeah,
because, like, real talk, dude's trying to keep his job.
right. Not talking
And
about the teacher per se.
the
I'm talking
yeah.
about the system that created him. By the way, he was the gym teacher. So I just want to
Oh yeah,
understand
that's what they do. Like, that is how they match that up. You don't
I'm
have to
so
have a background.
this happened years ago and I'm still mad.
But my thing is that. But can I just point out something that it
So
didn't just
mad.
happen years ago? It's happening literally right now as we speak on the second day of school.
I know,
Right?
but I'm still mad.
Yeah.
still I'm still just furious.
I want
I'm
to.
just absolutely furious. Meanwhile, you have politicians getting caught with their pants down all over the place. You have evangelical ministers getting caught with the pool boys with their wives, and it's okay. And
But it's not okay. But here's the other part of it. It's the same reason that they're getting caught like that is the basis of our conversation. Is that there's not enough honest sexual health or enough honest sexual conversation. So what ends up happening is that people start leading multiple lives. Well, I can't be fully this here, so let me do this there. And that's what ends up happening. That's how you end up in these things. And actually, that's a great segue because I know we're running short on time, but there are a couple of things that I really wanted to get your impression on, two of them in particular, as we talk about the burying one's hand in the sand as it comes for politicians. Um, so there is a piece of federal legislation called the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And what that does is it collects data, and they realize that rape in prisons, one, looks different than rape on the outside looks, because the force and coercive nature of it is different. And the physical violence does not need to be done because of the social context. So rape in prison is like, look, after dinner, be in my cell, half hour after dinner, and be ready. That is the equivalent of hitting somebody over the head in prison, because if not, you know what's going to happen. So there's this entire act, and one of the biggest controversies in it was the data collection piece, because people really didn't want to know. They wanted to be able. Actually, Bishop Robinson Jr., who was one of the great secretaries of Department of Public Safety, the Corrections, Baltimore City. Actually, one of the buildings downtown is named for him. When he was in charge of the Department of Corrections or the Department of Public Safety, he was in a legislative hearing and they were talking about public health, and PREA was something I think was in the initial conversations. And they said, well, what happens? How do you teach sexual health in the institutions? He said, we don't. So why not? Well, because there's no sex in the institution. It's a violation of policy. And like literally no, you ever had one of those things where it's like, even the people on your side can't keep like everything
said it out loud, dude.
but again, he was kind of like the pastor I was talking about.
Right.
It was like,
because people in jail because they follow policy. You right.
and the thing is, like, for him, he saw it as, if I acknowledge it, it means that I failed and it's happening. And so had an entire policy like this. Like, no sex in jail, everybody's doing what they're supposed to, da, 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 da. And when it's a couple of them, it's that ignorance that also, the second one I want to do, these two together, because for me, they are two different populations, but demonstrate the same thing. I think it was like 2015 when Mike Pence was governor of Indiana, because he thought, well, apparently the rumor is that he believed that HIV was a disease that was behaviorally acquired, so there were moral implications and connotations to it. So he defunded and kind of turned a blind eye issue. If we just teach abstinence, this will go away. And what ended up happening is that it was literally the fastest and most severe outbreak of HIV, I think, in American history.
Yeah.
So
and I know because several of our disease intervention specialists and our CDC supervisors had to respond to it. They had to literally leave Maryland and go to Indiana.
So let's, as we get ready to wrap this up,
In
if you could
Ohio.
use those two as examples of like why we need to have conversations about this, or just your commentary on those two by themselves.
This is why everyone says every year elections matter, and they do. But it's not until it hits you personally that you get it, why elections matter. And then you really have to vet the people. I know we are really busy in our lives. You're trying to get, milk for less than $4 a gallon. And how much is gas now? I get it. But understand that the people who are making these decisions don't have those concerns. They don't have your blues, baby. They do not have your blues. And as long as you keep voting for them or ignoring the election altogether, they get to stay in. They get a full pension. They get full health care. They get to
for life.
They get to approve their own raises. They ain't going nowhere until the next election, when they'll say, hey, your issues, that $4 gas and that $4 milk, that's on these poor people over here. Get them. I'll help you get them. Understand that your attention to certain issues matter. Now, if you don't care about sexual health and all the ills that can come with it, but you do care about the rate of abortions, then your two thought processes don't go together. If you don't care about sexual health, but you do care about how much your insurance is going up to cover certain things, your two thought processes don't exactly go together. If you don't care about sexual health, but your minister just got caught sexting, your married minister just got caught sexting a congregant, your two thought processes don't exactly go together. Things like that. So I really need you to pay attention to their political, and just ask them the question, what do you think about sexual health education? The guy from Nebraska who just won the GOP primary said, and I quote, Nebraska should have no sex education standards. These are decisions that should be made by parents, not bureaucrats, as he is running to become a bureaucrat. A well-paid one for life. Okay. All right. As you can see, there are 20 states that do not require it. How are those 20 states doing? I can almost tell you without looking, and I didn't even look this up. I can almost tell you where they are in relation to the country.
Let's put that on the agenda. Like, let's cover that first thing next week. Just put that on the first thing. Following up, let y'all know these are the states that do have, these are the ones that don't, and this is what their data looks like. Because again,
it's hilarious. Because those states always have the highest teen pregnancy. They always have the highest. They always have the highest STD rates. I was like, oh, okay. Fine. You like, and it's almost like a you like it, I love it, but the young people shouldn't have to pay for your continued ignorance.
Oh no, that's what we do all the time.
I know it.
They gotta pick up Medicaid and
because unlike wealth, the things that happen to your body is something that everybody goes through without fail. Everybody that ends up growing from childhood to adult, their bodies do the same damn thing. And to not teach anyone what happens in this country, what happens in our society, what this disease is, so you can freaking avoid it and not put your mouth on it, how to take better care of yourself, how to find worth in yourself so that someone who is unworthy does not come into your circle. What that looks like. Sexual health is not just about penetrating sex. And I have to say that because Western people, remember when we did the Kama Sutra and I said the only thing y'all know about it is the damn pictures? No one ever reads the damn thing. This is the same thing. The only thing you're concerned about is the sex. I almost lost it there. I almost lost it.
I love it. You know that makes me happy.
That almost slipped out. The only thing you're concerned about is the sex. You're not concerned about the fact that this little girl who was flat chested last year is now rocking a full size seat, and what that means for her, and what that means for her. Maybe she's embarrassed, because she can't play ball anymore without these things jumping up in her face and the guys reacting to it. You don't want to talk about that, because that's a part of sexual health. That's what happens to her body when her sex hormones said showtime. You don't want to talk about that. You don't want to have to tell boys, you want to tell girls how not to get raped, but you don't want to tell boys not to rape.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that too.
That's another day.
Yeah, that's
a whole show. You don't want to tell boys that. That's a part of sexual health. And that's a societal thing. That's a societal issue. How the onus on that boy's reaction is always on the girl. You want to talk about that? That's a part of sexual health. All y'all concerned about is the sex. And there's so much more around it. There's so much more a really good sexual health teacher would be able to tell. So the young person will be able to find knowledge about what their body is going through. And I didn't understand, I didn't even get to LGBT. Remember when I said there are 9 states that explicitly require discrimination against LGBT, and I'm assuming that means you don't discuss it at all. You don't discuss them at all.
Exist.
Or they don't exist, or you say that what they're doing is immoral, which means you're discriminating against them. You have in your system that this is immoral, and they're the causes of disease. You're discriminating against them. 9 states explicitly say this is what you have to do. Frick out of here. Frick out of here. That's a whole pride events full of kids you would like to ignore.
Yes, because it makes them more comfortable.
Okay.
Right. You know what? I appreciate the fact that I got you fired up.
Oh my God, we're over. Why don't you let me keep going?
I like what you were saying. It's my damn show. I like what you were saying, so I was gonna let you keep talking about it. Because I'm sitting here writing down topics for next week. The hell you talking?
Oh my God. Yeah, we didn't even get on to the legislation about gender identity. I have states that I want to call out and embarrass about that, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, we got shows. We get titillating every Tuesday, baby.
I'm so sorry.
Why are you apologizing? You realize I was in charge. I saw this happen and I let it happen. It's kind of like I let it happen. It's cool. Hell, I'm making it still happen right now. What you talking about?
Bye, y'all. I'll see y'all next week.
Hi, baby. Oh, y'all know I love Titillating Tuesdays. All the rules go out of the window. We talk about what we need to talk about to help you all understand what's going on in sexual health and the world of sex and sexuality. Sticking your head in the sand, acting like it doesn't exist, especially when you're talking about dealing with kids, that's problematic. One of the reasons that we have so many challenges in our community when it comes to sexual health is because we tell a lot of sexual lies. As our chief titillating officer has said before, people are willing to lie on their mother before they tell you the truth about their sexual activity. I'm hopeful that on Titillating Tuesdays, we can help change some of that and improve sexual health. You know, I like it when everybody is having good, healthy sex. Yeah, I like that. All right, we will be black tomorrow.